Hi Cambridge class, this week we're going to be having a look at subordinating conjunctions. Your learning objectives for today are to identify the difference between a main clause and a subordinate clause, and to identify the difference between a coordinating conjunction and a subordinating conjunction. So what is a main clause? A main clause must contain a subject and a verb. We've got two sentences here. The tiger walked through the bush, father broke his leg. A main clause must make sense by itself, and these do make sense by themselves. Walked and broke are the verbs, and tiger and father, they're the subjects, because a subject performs the action, it performs the verb. So the tiger is walking, the father is breaking his leg. So a main clause must make sense by itself. You can have more than one clause in a sentence. Tommy went into the woods and he played hide and seek. Father had upset his friend, so he had to apologise. The tiger was exhausted, but he continued to hunt his prey. So here, Tommy went into the woods, that makes sense by itself. He played hide and seek, that makes sense by itself. And links the two ideas together. Father had upset his friend, that makes sense by itself. He had to apologise, that makes sense by itself. So links the two main clauses together. The tiger was exhausted, makes sense by itself. He continued to hunt his prey, that makes sense by itself. So but is linking those two main clauses together. The three words in bold now are your conjunctions. So conjunctions link two clauses together. Because there's a main clause at either side of the conjunction, that's called a coordinating conjunction. And a coordinating conjunction goes in the middle of a sentence to link two ideas together. A way to remember what the coordinating conjunctions are is fanboys, and each letter represents a different word. F is for, A is and, N is nor, B is but, O is or, Y is yet, and S is so. These are all types of coordinating conjunctions. Sometimes the main clause needs some extra information. Tommy went into the woods, that's a main clause. The tiger was exhausted, that's a main clause. I'm actually going to ignore this one. Tommy went into the woods, although he was scared. So although he was scared is just extra information. The tiger was exhausted, as he had hunted for hours. That's extra information. Although he was scared does not make sense by itself. You need some, what do you mean, although he was scared? As he had hunted for hours, that's not enough by itself, so that's not a main clause. So these have got a different name. This extra information is called the subordinate clause. It doesn't make sense by itself. The subordinate clause can come at the start or the end of a sentence, and these examples show how that can be done. Tommy went into the woods, that's your main clause. Tommy went into the woods. But here we've got a subordinate clause at the end. Tommy went into the woods although he was scared. You can put the although he was scared at the beginning of the sentence. Although he was scared, Tommy went into the woods. The tiger was exhausted as he had hunted for hours. As he had hunted for hours, the tiger was exhausted. And notice that when you've got the subordinate clause at the start of the sentence, you've got a comma after the clause has ended. So after scared and after hours, you've got a comma to show that that's the end of the subordinate clause. But when the subordinating conjunction is in the middle of the sentence, we don't have a comma. The word that comes at the start of the subordinate clause is called a subordinating conjunction. So that's all your subordinate clause. That's all your subordinate clause. that's all your subordinate clause, and that's all your subordinate clause, but this is called the subordinating conjunction. Although and as here are subordinating conjunctions. Are these main clauses or subordinate clauses? So remember that main clauses make sense by themselves, but subordinate clauses don't. They are just extra information, and at the start of a subordinate clause is a subordinating conjunction. Let's try these first ones together. Sally went to the shop because she needed some more toilet roll. I'm thinking about fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. I can see that but is here, so but is a coordinating conjunction because that's a fanboy sentence. But these two, they're not in fanboys, which means that they must be subordinating conjunctions. So that's going to help me a little bit. A subordinating conjunction goes at the start of a subordinate clause, which means then that this is a subordinate clause and this is a subordinate clause. Notice that there's a comma at the end of the subordinate clause when it's at the start of the sentence. Sally went to the shop because she needed some more toilet roll. So because she needed some more toilet roll doesn't make sense by itself, it's a subordinate clause. But Sally went to the shop does make sense by itself, that is your main clause. Although it's cold outside, so that starts with a subordinating conjunction, which means although it's cold outside is a subordinate clause. I'd like to get some fresh air. That could be a sentence by itself, so that is a main clause. We walked to the park, but it was closed. Now I know that but is a fanboy sentence, so that is a coordinating conjunction. And at either side of a coordinating conjunction must be a main clause. So both of these are main clauses. Now exactly the same idea. Have a go now at these yourself. Write down whether each sentence has main clauses or subordinate clauses. So find a way on your paper to mark which clause is which. Pause the video while you do this. Okay, so I'm thinking about my conjunctions. I'm going to identify my conjunctions. While, so, and if. Fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So this one is a coordinating conjunction, and at either side of a coordinating conjunction is a main clause. So these two are main clauses. I know that a subordinating conjunction starts a subordinate clause, which means while Mum was cooking tea is a subordinate clause, and if they'd done all their home learning is a subordinate clause. They don't make sense by themselves, but we went on a bike ride and the children could play on their iPad. They do make sense by themselves, like we were tired and we went to bed. They both make sense by themselves, so they are main clauses. A way of remembering what subordinating conjunctions are is a white bus. So some of the subordinating conjunctions that we can use a white bus for include although, after, as, when, whenever, whatever, whether, whereas, which, if, in order that, in case, though, till, that, even though, even if, because, before, until, unless, since. These are all subordinating conjunctions. Look at the sentences below. Can you recognise the conjunction in each sentence? What type of conjunction is it? So a conjunction links ideas together. Think of it in terms of fanboys and a white bus. Can you find a fanboys word or a white bus word? On Sunday, the winds were high, but the sky was cloudy. Which word links some ideas together? Tim shrugged impatiently, and he went into the house. Before Sally went to school, she fed the goats. Father's leg would not heal. The medicine man treated it with honey and spices. Father's leg would not heal, although the medicine man treated it with honey and spices. Pause the video while you try to work out where the conjunction is and which conjunction it is. Okay, so I know that my conjunctions are but, and, before, although. So, is it coordinating or subordinating? Well, all the fanboys sentences are coordinating conjunctions. Everything else is subordinating, and they can be used, we can use a white bus to help us remember what they are. So, is but in fanboys? Yes. For, and, nor, but, or, yet. So but is a coordinating conjunction, and is in fanboys, so that's a coordinating conjunction. So coordinating. Before is not in fanboys because that B stands for but, and although is not in fanboys because that A stands for and. So before is a subordinating, and although is a subordinating. And I know that as well because on Sunday the winds were high, that makes sense by itself. The sky was cloudy, that makes sense by itself. So they are both main clauses. Tim shrugged impatiently, that makes sense by itself, that's a main clause. He went into the house, that's a main clause. And we know that coordinating conjunctions join two main clauses together. Before Sally went to school doesn't make sense by itself. And although the medicine man treated it with honey and spices, that doesn't make sense by itself. So they are subordinating conjunctions, which means at the start of a these are subordinate clauses, and at the start of a subordinate clause is a subordinating conjunction. So to recap, there are two types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. Last challenge, can you recognise these features in these two sentences? Where are the main clauses? Where are the subordinate clauses? Where are the coordinating conjunctions? And where are the subordinating conjunctions? Pause the video while you do this. Okay, Tim loved his father and he loved learning. Let me find and, that's a conjunction. Is it a fanboys conjunction? Yes, because the A stands for and, which means that at either side of the coordinating conjunction is a main clause. So this is a main clause. Tom loved his father. He loved learning. That's a main clause. And is a coordinating conjunction because it joins together two main clauses. Sally fed the goats before she went to school. Before is not a fanboy sentence, so that is a subordinating conjunction. A subordinate clause starts with a subordinating conjunction, which means that this is my subordinate clause. And then Sally fed the goats does make sense by itself, so that is your main clause. Well done if you got them right. See you tomorrow for some more.